My name is Umesh Rao. Today's subject is Industrial Jurisprudence, International Labor Standards in the Service of Social Justice. The table of contents in the lecture. What is Industrial Jurisprudence? Constitution of India and the legal provisions of labor law and various labor standards adopted by ILO, International Labour Organization. Recent work agenda by ILO. Now, industrial jurisprudence. What is industrial jurisprudence? It is a new branch of jurisprudence. During the 20th century, the gap between the rich and the poor grew. There is a glaring difference between the haves and have-nots because of industrial development. So, this is the origin of industrial jurisprudence. During 20th century, we know that new branch of jurisprudence has developed in our country. It is mainly the post-independent period development. The growth of industrial jurisprudence occurred because of increase in the labor and industrial legislations. The labor and industrial legislations is one reason. Another reason is that large number of industrial matters decided by Indian courts. So this became precedent. So the decisions of the Supreme Court, the decisions of the High Court directly affected the large number of population, and this became legislation. Now how this development happened? This industrial legislation, it cut down the traditional law relating to master and servant. New theory formed. It is a harmonious relationship between the employer and employees. The interest of the employees was protected by legislations. What about in the old theory? In old theory, industrialist wants to multiply their wealth. Rich goes richer, poor goes poorer by day. So, different classes in society originated. This is haves and have-nots. Gradually, workmen, employees realized that their income is less. Workers then got united. Then they go for strike and lockout. It leads to industrial unrest. During that time, world witnessed two world wars, which resulted in the increase in the cost of living of the people. But workers' labor wages did not increase. Then workers, what they done? They started movement. It is a mass awakening for greater power amongst workers. There is a struggle between the workers and the employers. Then the whole world recognized certain principles. These principles are known as labor standards. In this connection, the whole world recognized certain basic principles. They are the right to work, the right to workers to form a trade union, right to workers to bargain collectively for the betterment condition of the services. There is a shift from laissez-faire to welfare state, from profit motive to welfare state. Tripartite consultation is a solution for the industrial problem consisting of workers, employers, and government. Tripartite means there are three parties. Three parties sit together and solve an amicable solution. Workers, employers, and government. State is a protector of the social good. Minimum standards guaranteed under legislations. These are all the principles adopted to safeguard the workers. The Constitution of India and legal provisions of labor law. The Constitution of India guarantees justice of social, economic, political freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, equal opportunity, dignity of individual, and unity of the nations. Our constitution plays an important part in the changes and growth in labor laws in India. What constitution says? Article 14 of the constitution says that equality before law. That means equal pay for equal work. Workers should be paid according to their physical ability, skill. Then Article 19, it guarantees citizens to form a union or association. Article 23 of the Constitution, it prohibits forced labor, bonded labor, and child labor. Article 24 of the Constitution prohibits all forms of child labor. Nobody can employ a child under the age of 14 years of work. Article 39A of the state shall direct its policy towards securing its citizens. Men and women should be treated equally. They have the right to have adequate means to livelihood without discrimination on the basis of their sex. Article 41 of the Constitution provides a right to work. Every citizen of India has the right to work, and states should make arrangement to secure work and education. Article 42 of the Constitution provides for the upliftment of the working condition of workers. States should create humane conditions and maternity relief. Article 43 of the Constitution talks about living wage. Living wage not only includes the bare necessity of life but also social and cultural upliftment of the persons. So, in this regard, various labor standards adopted by international labor organizations. 1. Freedom of association, protection against acts of discrimination, protection and facilities to be given to workers' representatives, right to association of rural workers' organization, trade union rights and civil rights, right to elect representatives, full freedom is given to workers, right to trade union and formulate programs, a right to form confederation and affiliate with international organizations, dissolution and suspension of organizations, protection against anti-union discrimination, protection against acts of interference. International labor standards in the service of social justice. You know the origin of PLO found in the peace conference convened at the end of the First World War. The principal characteristics of the organization, standards related activities itself is tripartism. Tripartitism means for any dispute, three parties should sit together and solve the problem. Which are the three parties? Employer, workers, and government. The ILO or International Labour Organization, it consists with two decision-making bodies. First one, International Labour Conference. Second, the governing body itself is a tripartite. The highest body is the International Labour Conference, which adopts international labor standards. How this International Labour Conference is constituted? Each of the 175 member states of the organization is represented by 4 delegates, 2 delegates from government sides, 1 delegate from workers, and 1 delegate from employers. So each of them has complete freedom in exercise of their right to vote. These delegates consist of 175 member states. They exercise their right to vote, and any resolution or any standards will be adopted requires majority of 2/3 of the votes cast by the delegates present. So the labor standards adopted by the labor organizations, first one we will talk about freedom of association. Workers and employers shall have the right to establish organization of their own. The organization shall have the right to prepare their own constitution, their own rules, and elect their representatives in full freedom to organize their administrative activities. This organization shall have the right to affiliate with any international organization of workers or employers. Organization shall respect the law of the land. Second one is protection against acts of discrimination. Workers shall enjoy adequate protection against acts of anti-union discrimination in respect of their employment. For example, workers, they should not make the condition that worker, he shall join the union for taking an employment. Otherwise, worker will be dismissed from the work for participating of the union within the working hour. This is prohibited. So there should not be any discrimination. Worker is free to join any union. Because of his joining any union, he should not be terminated. Organization shall enjoy adequate protection against any acts of interference. And the protection and facility to be afforded to the workers' representatives. The workers' representative means their trade union leaders. Workers' representatives elected by the trade union freely. What are all the productions they want? They should enjoy effective protection against dismissal and other punishment for the work and activities of the workers' representative in the trade union. So, unjustified termination in employment of representatives is prohibited. And other conditions are there. What are the other facilities? Granting them time off without loss of pay for doing union activities. Access to workplace. In case of any suspension, restrainment with payment of unpaid wages and authorization to collect trade union dues and maintenance of rights, discrimination of union document to workers, distribution of union documents to workers. Last one is priority to be given to the workers' representatives with regard to the retention in employment in case of a reduction of a workforce. Right of association of rural workers organizations. All those engaged in agriculture have the same right of association as to the industrial workers. The organization is for the economic and social development of workers. Now, who are all the rural workers? Rural workers means tenants, farmers, sharecroppers, self-employment, agricultural laborer. What organization do for these workers? This organization must be independent and established on a voluntary basis. Organization should defend rural workers and defend their cases. Organization of rural workers in promoting access to services such as credit and transport facilities. Second, improvement in the education of workers and their children. Third, training and condition of work. Fourth, extension of social security. Actually, this association or organization provides freedom of association, collective bargaining to the workers, protection against anti-union discrimination. Now, trade union and public administration rights. Employees shall have the civil and political rights. It deals with the provisions relating to the facilities afforded to the representatives of the organization in order to enable them to carry out the function. Right to elect representatives is full freedom, and members of the organization have the right to elect their representatives full freedom, and authority should not interfere in the election of position. Now, right to trade union and formulate program. It includes right to hold trade union meetings, right to the union office bearers to access to the workplace and communicate with the management, right to strike peacefully, and right to defend their members, right to organize the administration without interference by the public authorities, and financial independence. Minimum contribution to members to joint fund, receipt of fund from abroad. Next one is form confederation, because it is unity, union of so many association or trade unions, and affiliate with the international organization. Next one is dissolution and suspension of union. It constitutes an extreme form of interference by the authorities in the activity of the organization. It is a serious infringement of principles of freedom of association. So, suspension and dissolution of organization can be ensured through a normal judicial process, and protection against anti-union discrimination. Protection should be afforded to the workers and trade union officials against anti-union discrimination by the authority. Protection against the acts of interference. The legislation should make express provision for making appeal procedures, and sanctions should be imposed against the act of interference by employer and organization. These are all the standards adopted by the ILO. Next, we are discussing with the decent work agenda by International Labour Organization. The goal of the international organization is to promote opportunities for workmen and women to have decent and productive work conditions of freedom, security, and human dignity. Work is a crucial role in the well-being of the workmen, yes, and their families. But work makes social and economic development of individual and their communities and society. The progress of the society depends not just on enough work. Quality of work is very important. Work should not expose them hazards or insecurity. What is the meaning of decent work? People should have a decent living. Work should be productive. Workers should deliver the fair income. Work should give security and social protection. Work should protect the basic rights. Work should give equality of opportunity. Work should cause personal development, and work should reduce poverty. Decent work for all is a slogan of International Labour Organization. Thank you. The end.